Hello everybody, this is Professor Triplet, and today we're going to look at how to make a lamp. Something like this. This is a very simple object, and let's get started. I'll show you what I did. First of all, I just went ahead and looked up some lamps, and I found the one that you guys are looking at. Don't even remember where it was because I kept perusing, but that's the one I'm going to go with, and I downloaded it. And the next thing I did is I said I figured I needed something like this to be for the lampshade. I didn't have anything particularly can't talk today, particularly in mind, but I just figured it should be sort of parchment looking. And I think I put in paper. Yeah, I put in paper. I don't know why Phil is in there right now. I think I was putting in filament. I was going to search again, and actually I did end up searching for filament. I didn't find any. I was also looking at metals to see like what kind of metal I could put on the base. That would actually be kind of cool. But I decided to go and use a metal that that I actually made myself. I haven't put it on, so I'm not sure how good it's going to look. But you could use any of these metals. You know, you can go in here and kind of use this for the different parts. But let's just examine and see what we're going to do with this. So it's really simple, and I purposely wanted this to be simple because I'm hoping I can get through this in an hour. But let's just say there's like a metal type here and on the bottom that those are the same. These are three shapes, 1, 2, 3. And then you've got your kind of your cylinder shape here. And then we'll do a light bulb, but we'll kind of do it more rudimentary, simple, because you're not going to see a lot inside there. So we got to make these three shapes and this top part, and then the light bulb, and then maybe something to just kind of make the light bulb look like it's connected. But we're also going to do a filament. So I looked for a filament on the texture site and I couldn't find it. So I went ahead and I actually had a light bulb in my house that I was like, hey, I could get a picture of this. This is in my front hallway. And I went ahead and took a picture of the light bulb and like took a side picture. This is like actually looking underneath the glass, so you can see it more clearly. And the side picture obviously looks a lot different. But then what I did is I took like a scarf and I put it behind the light bulb, and I took a picture. So I kind of just shoved my hand into the fixture, and then took a picture with my phone really fast of this. Of the filament, and luckily my phone was able to focus on it. It was actually pretty close, but it was able to focus on it. So I'm going to isolate this filament and turn that into like the glowy part inside the light bulb. So we'll see how that works in a little bit. So we'll get to that part later, but first let's go ahead and set up our reference inside of Maya. Now I want to show something here that I did. This is my new method of setting up references. I kind of came upon this on my own, but you know, I've always set up references and then had to move them around. But finally one day I was realizing that, hey, you know, if I set the reference up like this and it's on a square texture, then no matter what I do, when I bring it into Maya on a reference plane, it will be like dead center right in the middle of the world, and then I don't have to adjust it. So I was like, hey, that'll be cool. The other thing I did too is I actually made an alpha map, so the black should be see-through, and then all I should see is that little swatch, and I just put that alpha into here. And so when you're in here and you don't have an alpha, you just hit the layer thing, and then you make sure that you do a Control A, Control Shift C, copy everything. So Control Shift C will copy everything, create the alpha. I can just go ahead and delete that. Let's delete that. Yes, and so you create one, and then you just hit Control V and paste that in there. And then to get out of here, you just go back to the RGB, go like that, and then you can turn this back on and you'll be able to see it. And then I saved this out as a Targa. So I just went ahead and saved it Targa in a 32-bit Targa. So, oh yeah, I'm in the wrong spot. So let me go here. And anyway, you guys know how to save a Targa. Just make sure that you save it 32-bit. Otherwise, you will not get that alpha channel in there. So, and also, I am saving my references in the images file. So it's right here. So I don't basically have to mess around with those in my source images. That the source images are going to be what I'm actually using in my file. So I'll have to do a little searching when I go into Maya, but I just want to make that clear. Okay, so here's my substance material that we're going to be using. I was kind of messing around with these like industrial design materials and stuff, and this is just a you know, I don't know, just like some kind of metal that I thought would look cool. And this is the graph. It's actually really not that complicated. That's a different lesson though. Okay, let's close that. Let's minimize that. Now we're in Maya. So all we have to do is create a plane, and I'm going to go ahead and make it bigger. I'm going to assume that my lamp is, let's just say it's like a half a meter tall. So a half a meter would be 50. So 50, but see, this thing's going to be smaller because we're only using half of it. So let's just make it 100. So then that way we got that, we're using the whole space. So we can do something like that. Let's go to the front view. So make sure your Z is pointing towards you. And then I'm going to go ahead and, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and hold J and rotate this towards me. Okay, there we go. So 90 degrees. Now from here, I'm just going to right click and drag and go new material. And then I'll put in a blend. This is for the reference. So I'm going to always name it m_ref lamp. And then that should be good. And then we'll just drop a color in there. So we go to file. And so sometimes you get this. So Maya just had like this bug for some reason. Sometimes it doesn't connect right. And so see this, it didn't put that in there. So I'm going to do it again. This time it'll probably see for some reason it's a bug. Sometimes it doesn't work. I don't know why. But anyway, so this is actually in my images, not my source images. So I'm just going to go up one level and put this in there, say open. And the alpha should come in, I hope. So we hit 6 on the keyboard and there you go. Now, the alpha came in. Why did I do a blend? I should have done a Lambert. That's actually what I wanted to do. Let's change it to that. Okay, there you go. So now you can see, this is what I was talking about. Is like my reference is set up so that it's sitting right on the plane where I want to build, and I know the size is close to correct. I'm not really too worried about it for this one. And now I can get to building. So let's go ahead and just start making some items here. And I'm going to go ahead and just scale this out a little bit like that. And we'll move this up a little bit. And if you want to get really technical, go ahead and work with the pivot here. Let me hit, apparently my soft select is on, so I got to turn it off, hit B to turn it off. So I'm going to work with my pivot, and I'm just going to hold V and snap to this bottom vert there, and then hit D again. And then I'll just hold X and snap that to the grid. So now it's sitting right exactly on the grid. If we go into a front view, we can see if this is tall enough, and I think that's pretty close. We're good. We could scale it up a little bit if we want now. It's easier to scale it from the bottom up like that, and we're pretty good. So I think we could do a sphere or we could do a torus. I kind of feel like the torus is going to be closer to the shape that we're looking for. So if I kind of move this right in the middle here, let's just go ahead and, oops, I'm only doing that on one axis, so that's wrong. I want to do it from the middle, and that's going to scale everything correctly. So let's do that, and then let's just pull this up a little bit like so. And we'll put that in the middle there. And then let's see here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the verts right here on the top, and then grab the verts on the bottom. And I will go ahead and hit B on my keyboard to get the soft select. And then I'm just going to hit R, and then I'm going to start soft selecting this. And so what I'm doing is I'm just scaling on the one axis, but it's doing it like with the soft select, so it's nice and easy. You can change your soft select, of course, through going through your tool settings here. You can change the soft select, how far it goes out and stuff. So you can play with this here. You could even play with the ramp, like how the ramp looks. Actually, I have like a custom ramp in there right now, so I can just reset that. Now it's the default. So anyway, yeah, there we go. And it looks like this one's not exactly where I want it to be. I'm going to hit 4 on my keyboard. Actually, so in this case, I can't do that. What I need to do is I need to take this object and turn it into an X-ray so I can see where my my stuff is behind there. So now I can hit 6, and now I can see behind there how close this is matching It's not perfect, but I'm not super worried about it because this is not really like, I'm not doing this for, I'm just kind of doing this for fun. It's okay if it's a little bit off. So you can do something like that. You can grab these if you want. Hold B on your keyboard and drag up and down, or left. Actually, I'm sorry, drag left and right, and you can adjust the soft select right in the viewport. And so I can go like this and like scale that out just a little bit, and there we go. So now it's looking closer to what I was going for. You know, maybe grab these, and if I want to get this even closer, like scale it down. Actually, it's looking like the middle has to be scaled in a little bit. So if I go to the top view, so that's kind of a pain to select like that. So there's like a lasso select. You could try to do something like this, where you go, okay, if I use a square, it's going to take forever. But if I do a lasso select, I can hold Control and Shift, and I can select like this, and just kind of keep selecting around the circle. Some programs have a circular marquee. I've never seen one in Maya. Maybe I haven't looked hard enough. But like this, I've gotten all this now, and I can hold B on my keyboard and kind of get my soft select working like that. And then if I go to the front view again, so now I have just the center selected. And so here, if I go like this and scale in, it's going to go down, because it's going to scale everything towards the center. But what I want to really do is I'm going to do this from a perspective view, and I'm going to try to go like this and go use just this green right here. So it won't go in towards the center. It'll just go in on the Z and X axis, but it won't go in on the Y axis. So it won't change the height of it at all. Okay, it's good enough. I think that's fine. Okay, so now one thing I do want to do though, let me turn off the X-ray so we can. I don't really want this middle part in here. I just wanted the shape of the torus because I think it's gonna work better than the than what would have happened with the with a sphere. So I mean, I probably could have done a sphere as well. Wouldn't have been a big deal, but I just wanted to show all the different things that I was just showing. So let me do this. I'm going to do a conversion. So I'm going to convert my my vertices, so my vertex selection, to a polygon selection. So what I'll do is I hold Control and I right click, and I just hold down my right click so I get a marking menu. When you're holding Control and you right click, it'll give you a different marking menu than when you just normally right click. So you can see right here it says to vertices. Well, I already have vertices. So if I go to faces, if I drag down and go to faces, then it'll select all of those faces. So there we go. Now we've got all those faces selected, and we're good to go. So let me do this. I'm just going to delete those actually. And then I'm going to grab these open edges here on the top and bottom. So I should have left some open edges on the top and bottom. And, you know, maybe what I'll do instead of, maybe what I'll do is I'll do one more level in. So I'll go like this. I'll delete one more level in. So let's just go like that. And then we'll do the same thing down here. So the way I'm selecting the poly loop is you select one and then you hold shift and double click on the next one, and then it'll select the whole loop. Okay, so now I've got that whole loop, and let's just say for now maybe that's good enough. I was thinking about like taking these edges and maybe moving them up so they're pretty much level with this top part, like so. And what we can do is go into the front view, and then you can snap it. So you can hold V and only go with this one axis and just snap it to the top there, and so it'll be perfectly aligned. And we can do the same thing here. Just grab this one and go to the front view and hold V, and then just snap it right up to there. So now we've got that all nice and aligned. So that looks good. And if I don't want to do that again, I can just delete the bottom and mirror it down, which since I'm not touching this item below, I think that's a good idea. So let's just go back to the front view, and we'll just go faces. I'll select all of these, delete that. And so now, actually, before I do that, let's move the pivot. We'll just use the bounding box. It'll be fine. So you can mirror based on your bounding box or world space or whatever. Actually, my pivot's right in the right spot, so it should be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go to mirror, and that's in mesh, mirror, like so. You can see it's mirroring from down here. And which direction is it going in? It's going in the Z, but we want it in the Y direction. So we're going to go like that. And we can move this pivot around, but you can see it's going in the positive direction. So we want to go in the negative direction. So we're just going to go like that. And now if I move it all the way down to where I want it, see, it's got a threshold of how far it can be before it will merge, or until it will stop merging, I should say. So, but you can see it snaps together. So that's about right. So we'll just leave it like that. So I'll go ahead and hit Q, and we'll get out of here and go back to our perspective. And there we go. Now we've got that part. So the next thing is this part. So how should we do this part? That's a good question. Let's go like this. We can work on our quad view here and get a lot of stuff done really fast. So why don't we just make a cylinder, and let's put it to about the middle of this piece. Maybe about right there. And then we'll go ahead and just change the height. So I'll middle mouse drag in my viewport, and I'll get the height. That's probably about right. Now I'm going to use a deformer on this. I'm going to try to use like a flare and get the deformer to bend this thing the way I want to. I think it'll be the fastest way. But I need height subdivisions, because if I try to do it without the height subdivisions, it's not going to work right. So I'm going to go ahead and just middle mouse drag in my viewport and get some height subdivisions. What I think I might do too is just like maybe lower this. So I like to get a nice square shape. So I think 12 like this will be good. Like I like to get a square shape with each one of my polys, then it deforms nicely and has like a nice curvature to it. 19, I don't want 19. Let's do an even number. Let's do 22. We'll do something like that. That should work. Okay, so now we've got this object figured out, and we just want to go to deform, and we'll put on a nonlinear deformer, and we'll try a flare. And then, so if I look at this at wireframe, you can see it's turned magenta color, and that means our flare is connected. So all we need to do is come into this flare, and we'll start playing with these. So let's go ahead, and so that's kind of the wrong one. I can look at it in one viewport, like here, and then see if I'm getting where I want. So if I select the start right here, and I just drag over both of them, and then come in the viewport, I can start moving this thing around. So I'm middle mouse dragging in the viewport like that. And then I can come to the curve and middle mouse drag in the curve, and voila. So there we go. And that is why I teach how to use deformers, because, you know, I could have gone through and used a curve, or I could have gone through and there's a bunch of different ways I could have done that. But at the end of the day, the deformer, you know, when you use these things at the right time, they work really nicely. So I'm just going to assume that that's exactly what I want. And I'm going to go ahead and delete my history. And I actually want to move this up a little bit. So it's like that. And so now you can see it's almost covering this hole. I'm just going to take this hole and scale it in just a little bit like that, so you don't see it. There's no reason for us to have a bunch of polygons there if you're never going to see in there. So, okay, that looks pretty good. This thing does not have any proper smoothing on it. So I'm going to go ahead and just go soften edge like so, and now it will look nice and smooth like it should. Of course, the edges at the bottom and top will be a little bit off, and that's because Maya is trying to round the smoothing angle all around this hard corner here. So if I come in here and just hold control and drop a little edge loop there, it will fix that up really easily, and we'll do the same thing there. And then actually, if you want to get really, you know, technical with it, you should probably do that on top and bottom too. So that would mean that the way to do that would be just to go to faces. We'll go to the front view here, and I want to just grab these faces, but then I'm going to hold control and deselect the edge ones. So now I just have the top, and then I'm going to go, and you can either do a extrude in, or you can hold shift if you still have this function on, and you can just shift and scale in a little bit. And so now that we have that, it'll take care of that little that little smoothing issue that we had before. Actually, let's do this again. I'm going to put the smooth on again. Let me isolate this. Control 1 will isolate. So I want to do the same thing on the bottom. Something like this. Faces. And deselect. I could probably delete the bottom out, but for this one, I'm just going to leave this in here. Hold shift, and then I'm just extruding it a little bit. Okay, now if I grab this and I put a soften edge on there, it should look really nice. It should look almost like it's a high poly model, but it's really not. So there you go. Yeah, it's got a nice little bevel and everything. Looks really good. Okay, so Control 1. So that's just about it's the way that Maya shades stuff. And most 3D programs all work the same way. So, okay, now we're pretty close. Let's just go ahead and give a little bevel to this edge here. So let's go edge, edge, and we'll go bevel. It's probably gonna be way too much, yeah. So we'll just do that, give it an extra segment. That looks pretty good. Object mode, select that, and then we'll soften edge again. So now that will look like it's kind of like it's a high poly model, but it's really not. Sneaky, sneaky. Let's delete the history there. Let's just make sure we get all the history deleted on all of these. So that should be good. Okay, so next part is, let's get this top part done. We'll do the bulb, and then we'll lay out some UVs. So the top part's pretty easy. You know, you can just go ahead and make another cylinder. And let's go into the front view. We can move that up to here. Like so. And then I'm just going to go ahead and scale it uniformly out. Like so. It's close. Let's go back to object. We can just go like this, scale that up a little bit. This curve that you see on the top, that's not something you're going to really model. That's actually from perspective distortion. And I'm not going to worry about centering this to the image, because I think the image is just, it's actually that, it's just a little bit off in the picture. It's not really what I'm doing. But I'm going to select all these top verts here, and I'll just go ahead and, oops, I hit the wrong button. There we go. We'll scale it in a little bit, and maybe scale this out a little bit. Like so. That should be fine. See this? We just want to get that angle so it looks nice, like a nice lampshade there. Okay, so we've done that, but we've still got these polys in the top and bottom that we don't want. So I just rectangle drag, and I know that's going to get the top and bottom. So if I look at this, you can double check. Yep, got it. Delete those, and then here I'm going to go ahead, and I could leave this thin, but I don't like doing that. I'm just going to go ahead and do a extrude, and then I'll pull on the Z-axis and just extrude this out a little bit. I'm going to leave this more rudimentary. I could make this a lot more savvy if I wanted to, by adding like a few edges and putting like a little, well, you know what, maybe I'll do this. I'll at least, like, I'll bevel the top and bottom so it looks a little bit nicer. So let's just go like that. And then we'll just go ahead and go to edges, and I'll grab these edges here. And let's just come down here, grab these edges. We'll just do a little bevel on them, just one segment. We don't need more than that. Yeah, see how it's just a little bit like that. And hit Q. It's just going to look a little bit nicer. So mesh display, soften edge, and now we have our lampshade done. It looks okay. All right, cool. Let's keep going. So the next thing is to build a light bulb and a filament, and just like a little thing to hold it. Probably should build like the little wire things that hold this thing to the light bulb, but yeah, I might leave that for a different tutorial. We'll see if it starts to bother me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grab this and hit Control 1 so I can isolate it. And apparently that only does it per viewport. So we'll go ahead and just jump into this viewport only. Do something really quick here. It looks like when I did the flare, it kind of didn't get this end just like I wanted. I want it like that. And maybe that. Okay, I know that seems like I did almost nothing, but that's how I roll. I have to get it just how I like it. I could make like a new cylinder and just keep working, or what I could do too is grab these faces. Let's just make sure I deselect those. Okay, and I can go ahead and come here, since this is already sitting where I want it. I can go to edit mesh, and I can do a duplicate. So it's going to make a duplicate one of those, and then just go ahead and object. I should have two objects here. There we go. And then I can scale this in. What I need to do is center pivot though, so I'll center pivot it so I can scale it from right here like that. And then I'm actually going to I'm going to extrude off of this. So what I want to do is I'm going to do reverse. So I'm going to go to mesh display and reverse. And so now the normals will be pointing down. So then that way, if I go and extrude, this will actually, well, okay. So if I was going to extrude by the edges and then just cap the top, but you know what? Let me undo that. So let me undo that reverse. And if I do an extrude actually with like this, I'm overcomplicating it for myself. So all I do is I clicked on that little round thing there, so it goes to the center. This is fine. It actually should work fine. Let me just double check. Control 1. Yeah, it reversed it for me. Okay. I forgot that it did that. Okay, so let's just say, let's look at everything now, because that's going to be just like the little pole that the light bulb sits on, and that should be fine. Let me go ahead and I'm going to make it a little bit longer. So I want it to be kind of in the center of the object. So I would say like maybe like there, and then the light bulb will come off and kind of be like that. Okay, looks good to me. So we'll go back to object mode, control 1. I'm just going to do the same treatment that I've done on some of these other things, which is I'm going to go ahead and bevel these edges. Maybe just the top ones, because the bottom ones are going right into that piece. So we're going to pretend like we're not going to see those. We're probably not going to see these either, but whatever. Okay. Object mode. You know what? Now that I think about it, if I smooth this, this is going to have problems. So let's just go ahead and add a little segment there. And go to the front view. Grab these faces here. Deselect. So now I'm just going to have the bottom right there. Get out my scale tool, hold shift and scale in a little bit. There we go. Like I said, that's just for shading, because now when I do this mesh display soften edge, it's not going to look black on the bottom. It's going to look right. Yeah, see that? It's got a nice little bevel. Top looks beveled. Looks good. Okay. Now, I haven't named anything. Shame on me. Let's do this. Let's, I know this is my reference. Stop every so often and name things. Ref plane. That's good. This should be, we'll call this base underscore lamp. I don't need that cylinder in there. And then we'll call this mid. And then let's see here. So this is, yeah, this is this one. So we'll call this neck. And then this one we will call, that's a neck too, isn't it? Let's call this neck. Taper. Something like that. Grab these two. I'm going to hold my middle mouse and drag these out. I don't really want these in this group, so I'm just going to delete the group and hit Control 1. You can see everything. Okay, when I deleted the group, for some reason, it messed with the materials here, so I'm just going to go to Lambert 1 and put it back on. I don't know why it does that, but sometimes it does that. I actually want this to be a little fatter now that I look at it. Let's do it like that. So I just scaled it out in the one axis. Okay, that's almost there. We just got to make the bulb and like a little thing for the bulb to be held by. So let's go ahead and just duplicate this, Control D, and we'll drag it up. We can actually hold V and snap it right to the top there. So I just drag into that one axis and hold V. And then from here, I can go ahead and just go R, scale it down like so, scale it out a little bit. And now we may actually want that bevel to be on top and bottom so it looks nicer. So you can see right here, all that scaling I did kind of screwed everything up. So why don't I just go like this, and I'll just remove these, Control Backspace, and do the same thing here. Control Backspace. Now my vertices here are actually sticking up a little bit. So I can just go ahead and hold V here and snap that right to those verts. And do the same thing here. And just snap that right to this vert. So you just put your cursor over that vert. Oh, did it not do it? Looks like it popped back. There we go. Okay. Am I going crazy? Let's go to the front view. And let's look at it wireframe. I feel like it keeps popping back. Nope, it's right. All right. It just was the shading in the viewport looked a little weird. It changed on me. The more you work in 3D, I feel like the more you start paying attention to like just little nuances, and I think that's how you get better at it. Just doing like, you know, you just gotta watch things and make sure that things are working right. So, okay, so that's all I want to do for that. So you can see I'm doing a lot of the same like wash, rinse, and repeat. I purposefully picked this simple item because I want to try to finish it within an hour. Now I'm at 30 minutes right now, or a little bit over. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and just use a generic sphere for my light bulb. And I'll drag that up. We'll go into the front view again. And I'll just go like this. Put it up here a little bit. Let's scale it out. Maybe up a little bit more. And this is pretty easy. This is like a very simplistic way to kind of cheat it. Like I said, this is sort of a fast, cheap way. I mean, you know what? There's a couple ways you can do this. You can extrude this down. You can soft select it. I'm going to try the soft select. I'm going to soft select like that much and see what happens when I start pulling it down. Because if you look at my bulb again, if I go back to here, it's kind of like, it's not exactly like your like bulb that has the ball. It's more of like this oblong bulb. So I'm going to keep going with that. And so now that I've done that, I can go ahead and maybe hold control and get less of a selection and pull that down a little bit. And maybe less. And a little bit less. And something like that. All right. That's my cheated bulb. It's not really like that amazing, but it'll work. So, all right. I think that's cool. Check it. Let's make sure everything's good. Yep, that looks good. That looks good. We're good. Okay, I think this reference plane I could probably hide now. So let's just make a layer. I like to call it, I always have like a ref layer. Ref layer. Well, we'll call it ref lamp, because you never know. What if you make another one? Do something like that. And reference layers I usually make yellow. I don't know why. That's just what I do. And so all that yellow is if you turn on wireframe unshaded in your viewport and you see the wireframe is yellow, that means that that's on that layer. That's how that works. Okay. So this is where we're at. It does look kind of weird not having like something holding this, but I didn't really look at the like a lamp. I didn't really look at a lamp to see like what those little things look like sticking out. I know they're like these little poles, and I actually have a lamp that is not far from me that I could probably go look at. But let me do that really quick and I'll come back. All right, I looked at mine and I didn't like it because it was too complicated. And then I knew there was less complicated ones. This is something where I was like, hey, that's more like it. But the tricky part is that when so you can see with this one, it has these light bulbs that go around, that kind of loop around. And with the one that we're making, the light bulb's right in the middle. And that's what my lamp is like. It has it in the middle. And because of that, it has this piece that goes all the way around this, you know. So basically, to get that piece, you sort of have to make a wire. I would make a wire, and so you would just go to your front view, and let's just go ahead and do a curve here. We'll do a Bezier curve, and I'm going to kind of make this generic, so it's not going to be like super intense or anything like that. So just making like a little curve like this. This is not a photoreal perfect one, but it'll work. Actually, let's just go right to there. We'll do something like that. So we can do something like that, and if you want, you can get super refined here and move this right to the grid. Hold X, snap it to the grid, and that should be good. And then what I would do is I would just take a little box. It's all the way down here. Move this box up to here. So put it like that. And then just scale this down like so. And we'll go into the perspective view, hit F, get closer to your box. I'm gonna just grab the face on here, shift select that, and then we'll do an extrusion. So we'll extrude, and it's gonna pop up to the top, turn off that soft select, and I'll start adding in divisions. And you can see right here that now we've got this nice, decent, low poly type thing. It's obviously giving me a lot of segments right at the bottom. So some of these segments, what I can do is grab this and just, you know what? So here's one of these situations. What I do, if you hold Control and Shift, see how it says slide? Slide this one over a little bit, double click here, hold Control and Shift, and slide this way. Now if you feel like, hey, I don't think I need this one, then, or you can go like this. Let's just grab this, Control and Shift, go like that, and then you can balance that out. Okay, if you don't feel like you need it, like I was saying earlier, just Control backspace, get rid of it. It's not really penetrating anything, so we could probably lower the poly count on this a little bit by just doing this. Yeah, that's probably fine. It's probably not going to be seen that much anyway, so it's there just in case somebody looks inside. Now, obviously, if you go to your faces, you're going to have this last face selected, and you'll have to get rid of that. And so we'll want to go ahead and let's get rid of that one too. And I'm going to go ahead and take this edge here and just align it like that. So just, scaling it on the x-axis. And you can see now it's like perfectly aligned there. So if I go ahead and take this and mirror it, it will nicely mirror to the other side. And because I'm trying to keep this short, I'm not going to build this whole piece out. I'm just going to kind of leave it like this. And let's look at this, like this. And I'll go ahead and mirror this out. So object mode and mesh. Mirror, we want it on the X. All right, there we go, and in the negative direction, there we go. Okay, so that's going to be my cheesy, cheap little thing here, and then I'll go smooth, so soften edge like that, and see, look at that. It actually looks decent, and if you're not going to really see it from too close, let's turn the wireframe off. It's hard to tell that that's just a square. See that? So it's a cheap, easy way to do it. Like I said, I'm not gonna go into the whole mechanics down there. We'll just pretend that that's correct. Let me one more time look at my reference. So we got that right there. So we're going to just have like these 3 poles that are sticking into there. Number of ways you could do that. I think this might be a really easy way. Let me just do this. Bring a cylinder right up here. As you can see, I go into my front view a lot. Let's make sure this is in the right spot. I'm going to take the cylinder down to 3, like that. And now we'll look at it like this. So you see you got that shape there in the middle. And I'm going to go ahead and just scale that out like so. And we'll go ahead and just do this. Now let's go into my shaded so I can see what I'm doing here better. Yeah, that's just right. So we'll just grab these 3 and we just do a little bevel. Little bevel, I said. Little bevel. Oh, it's so jumpy. So I might have to hand dial this in because it's kind of jumping a lot. So let's see. The offset's at 0.2. I want it at maybe 0.1. Let's see. That didn't seem to change much. Okay, why are we getting problems here? Object mode. Polybevel. Fraction. Alright, so I'm going to have to do this by hand and just go 0.5 maybe, like that. There we go. That's about what we're looking for. Maybe even more, less, I should say. 4. That'll work. Okay, so I'm going to just scale this up just a wee bit more so those edges are popping in there. There we go. So now we'll go to faces, and I'm just going to select these faces. Hit Control-Shift-I. Control-Shift-I will inverse the selection, and I will delete those so you can see what I've got here. And I will just go ahead and, yeah, I could probably do something goofy and do something like this and like pull this down here like that and kind of just like cheese it out like that. Let me look at my reference one more time. They have it going straight across and they have a little pull going up. So I think I'm going to cheese it out though because this is going to run long already. So let's just do that. At least there'll be something in there. Wait a second. Yeah, here. I'll do what I was originally going to do. So we're just going to take this and we are going to extrude down. So just grab everything, faces, and just extrude. And we'll go like that. Now you see it's black. We don't want that. So we're going to select everything, go to Mesh Display, Reverse. And while we're in Mesh Display, might as well go Soften Edge. Like that. So we just kind of did the same thing. And then from here, I'm going to actually grab this, go to Edge, double click that, and just do a little bevel on it. That's too much, obviously. So I just want like a little square in the middle there. That's good. And then I'll just do that extrude again. And I make sure I hit this one so it goes in the middle. It's gonna extrude by world space, and so that way it won't scale it out. If it was doing it the other way, it would be going by like object space. I can actually select all of this and just sort of go like this a little bit, scale that in a little bit that way, and maybe a little bit in this way. Or you know what? Let's just cheat it. I just undo that. Let's just do that. No one will know. It's such a small amount. So we'll just go ahead and smooth all of this. So soften edge. There we go. I didn't grab the top vert because that's okay to be hard. That will make this look better. Actually, that top face you really don't even need now that I think about it. So we grab that top one. You just delete that out. No one will see it. Okay. So there we go. That should work. That's my cheesy cheap setup. It's not, you know, like I could certainly model that like perfectly if I wanted to, but You know, or I should say, you know, make all the pieces, but this is supposed to be fast, right? So let's go ahead and delete the history. Let's just take all of these, make sure everything's got the history deleted. All right, we have one piece left to make that I did not make, and that is I need a card. I'm going to use a card inside of here for the filament, and I can actually use a box and then just delete the edges. So you guys will understand what I mean by card, because it's going to be just like a little texture on the card. I don't want to explain it anymore right now. It's easier just to show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from let's go to the front view right here. Let's scale that in like that. And then we're going to scale this like this. So I'm going to have a filament texture on this piece, and it's going to basically be going up. And there'll be I'll have two sides. And then what I do is I take, come on, Maya. Let's see, there we go. I'm going to take these and just delete these edges out, because it's just going to be two cards facing out. And so now we are at 45 minutes, and I am going on to the UV stage. So the modeling, the reference and modeling stage took me about 45 minutes or so. We'll be going on to the UV stage next. So that'll be in the next video. Bye.